So let's say I want to solve a system of equations. Now for this example, we'll solve the system x plus y is less than -2 and x minus y is less than or equal to 4. There's some free software online that I like to use, and it can be found, it's called GeoGebra, and it can be found at this link. Feel free to use it. It works really nicely, and I'd highly recommend it, and it's free. So if I have to solve this system, there are many solutions to it. For example, let's see, maybe x equals -5 and y is 1. That would work for both of these. -5 plus 1 is less than -2. -5 minus 1 is less than or equal to 4. But there's infinitely many solutions. So that's not the only solution. Otherwise, I'd be a really lucky person. I just guessed it. But there's infinitely many solutions. To solve it, I would first graph the boundary lines. Now, the boundary lines, all that means is instead of looking at this as being a less than or a less than or equal to symbol, I'm going to pretend it's simply equal to. So I'm going to take out some graphing software to show you how I would graph those. And what I do if I have something like x plus y equals -2, for example, we'll do that one first. Since I know, I'm going to write that down, x plus y equals -2, I think about a chart, like when x is -2, y is 0, and when x is 0, y is -2. So I would just plot those points. -2, 0, 0, -2. And this is the beauty of having some software that you can use to graph these. You don't have to then go and spend all of your time doing that. So what I would do is now I would just take those 2 points and construct a line between them, and that is my line. X plus y equals -2. I'm going to graph the other one exactly the same way. So the other line, remember, was x minus y equals 4. X minus y equals 4. So I'm going to graph that exactly the same way. So just to remind myself, it's x minus y equals 4. And this is a boundary line. So I'm going to just plot a few points. I know that when x is 4, y is 0, so I'll plot that point. And I know if x is 0, y is -4. When I plug in 0 for x, y is -4, so I'll plot that point. And now when I'm done, I'm just going to take those 2 points and construct a line between them, and there's my line, x minus y is equal to 4. So now that I have those two, I'm just going to take this graph over. And I am going to see which way the shading goes. So we'll go back over here. And now I'm going to start thinking about shading. Now when I shade, what I do is I pick a test point. So I'll start with the x plus y equals -2. That was this line right here, x plus y equals -2. And in reality, it's supposed to be x plus y is less than -2. So I'm looking for where that line is less than -2. So again, I'll look at my graph. X plus y is less than -2. So it would be everything. I'll pick the test point 0, 0. 0, 0 is always a nice little test point to pick. If that point works in the equation x plus y is less than negative 2, then I'll shade the side with the 0, 0 on it. If it doesn't work, I'll shade the other side. So 0 plus 0 less than negative 2. Is that true? No, it's not. Which means this is the side that I would shade. This is the side of that line I would shade. I'm going to do the same thing for x minus y is less than or equal to 4, which, if you remember, was the equation for that one. I'll pick the same test point, 0, 0. So if it's true, then I'll shade the side with the 0, 0. If not, so is it true that 0 minus 0 is less than or equal to 4? Yes, this time it is true. So I would shade everything on this side, on the side of that line where the 0, 0 is. What I'm really looking for in here is where both things are shaded. So let's take this. Notice how in here both things are shaded. That means any point I pick that is in this area. So for example, this point right here, negative 2, negative 2. That should work for both of them. So let's see what I've done so far. I graphed the boundary lines. I picked a test point, and when it was true, I shaded the side with the 0, 0. When it was false, I shaded the other side. And then the last thing I do is I look for where the shading is on both of those. That is the solution set. And then if you want, you can test another point. Like I picked the point negative 2, negative 2. And you can just see, does that work in both of these? So if I plug in negative 2, negative 2, is it true that negative 2 minus negative 2 is less than or equal to 4? That would be like negative 2 plus 2. And yes, that's definitely less than or equal to 4. It's less than 4. The other equation I covered up over here, but that was x plus y is less than negative 2. And if I plug in negative 2 for x and negative 2 for y, that statement is true as well. Negative 4 is less than negative 2. So that's just my way of checking the answer. Now, if you want, you can obtain a copy of these notes on the Moodle site so that you can see the step-by-step instruction of what we just went through. Otherwise, you can try some on your own. Good luck.